Hello everyone, this is Branded Despia. Thank you for watching the channel and having conversations with me about Branded. Today I want to talk about the new Branded support that has been announced through Burst Protocol, how it combines with the cards from the new structure deck, the Fallen and the Virtuous, to propel Branded to Tier 1 status once this set comes out. There are already a lot of videos out there that show combos and show exactly what the deck can do. But what I want to focus on is just explaining exactly what this accomplishes and why people now believe that with this new support, Branded will become a Tier 1 deck. And I wanted to address the problems that Branded had and how these cards fix that problem. But needless to say, it almost feels like a renaissance of the deck. And forgive me if I stumble or mumble or drag on a little bit. I'm kind of flying off the cuff. I do have some notes here. Let me start off by saying that, let me go to my dueling book profile here. Let me start off by saying that this card is broken. For Branded, it's really busted. It does way too much, in my personal opinion, for a Branded deck. You should be running 2 of these. If you run, you're gonna run 3 copies of Fallen Albaz, and you're gonna want, and 2 of them are gonna be this. Your Branded Fusion plays typically don't need the regular Albaz anyway, right? You really only want the Fallen Albaz access through effects like Guiding Quem, or during the end phase through Titaniclad, right? Something like that. So this is really irrelevant, and it actually is better that it's like this for what this card does, because now we can actually conserve space. So, when the White Albaz, I'm calling him White Albaz from here on out, but his name is Fallen of the White Dragon, has identical stats to the Fallen of Albaz. It doesn't have the Super Poly effect, and that's great for us, just for the fact that we, or any type of discard effect, because we definitely don't need more cards that force us to be more careful with our card economy. And that's going to be a point I bring across at some point in this video. It does lock you into synchros and fusions that are level 8. Doesn't really matter. It really doesn't matter. And you'll see in the videos I'm going to suggest, which is Metagames GX, Galzo has another video up. I think he recently posted another video today. Raul TCG posted something with a lot more extensive combos as well. And you know the way he does, you know, you're always behind if you don't watch Raul TCG videos. So when White Albaz is summoned, essentially what you're going to be doing is summoning the Incredible Ecclesia from the hand or deck. These tag very well together. Fallen of the White Dragon can summon Ecclesia. Ecclesia can summon Fallen, which can summon either Ecclesia from the graveyard or a second one from the deck. So what that's telling me and what that should indicate to you is that you should be running Incredible Ecclesia, but there's a good chance you're going to want to run this at more than one, because we're going to be using the dragon that devours the dogma in Branded. And this is not only a very strong super poly target, but it's also going to end up being one of our key cards for recursion, as well as one of our win conditions outside of Mirror Jade, because towers are always one of the most difficult cards to deal with. It's going to draw a lot of attention. Ecclesia is going to draw a lot of attention as well through the effects of Bestials and cards like Called by the Grave. They're going to want to take this out if you are a player that shows they want to bring this card out a lot, and you're going to want to. You're going to want to bring this card out constantly, along with the Mirror Jade, because of its recursion ability. Like just being able to constantly screw with the opponent's graveyard and replenish your resources back into the deck while presenting a 3500 attack towers. There's not really many decks that can do anything about it. The only deck that can really exceed that right now is Lunalight, through just through raw attack power. So like I said, what this is going to tell me to do is I'm going to want multiple copies of Fallen the White Dragon, but I'm also going to want multiple copies of Incredible Ecclesia. Right now, you're only seeing one. That's going to change. This is a starter now. Ecclesia is going to be a starter, and it can special summon itself. Special summoning itself. If your opponent controls more monsters than you, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's going to be very, very, very strong going second. They're going to have to Ash this, and that's a great card to force an Ash or force any other card effects as well, and it won't cost you your normal summon. And I think that's going to be the play of the game here. The fact that we are now adding probably 4 cards at least in our deck that don't require a normal summon. Lots of tier 1 decks, they had the ability of just conserving their normal summon, creating plays that required hand trap disruption. And the fact that Fallen, Ecclesia, Aluber, they all can create essentially the same end board. This is absolutely ridiculous. If you're looking at the deck I have in front of you, this is 19 1-card starters essentially, or 1.5. 19 starters, which equates to, in a 60-card build, 86.28% chance of drawing 1 to 5 of these. In a 60-card deck, having this level of consistency is very absurd. Without having to incorporate a secondary engine to have starters that can bridge into to your main strategy. The fact that we can have that kind of level of consistency without requiring a second bridge is insane, right? The main thing you're going to want to do is you're going to always typically search for Incredible Ecclesia, and then this is going to get you something like the Golden Sword Soul, right? Because you want to get this in the graveyard. You want to be able to use this and synergize with your Synchro Monster Ecclesia, the Black Dragon. I will say this isn't a must, but it's a very, very strong pick. You could just go for the Spriggan's Kit. However, if you go for Spriggan's Kit, just know that you're going to be giving up a card in order to continue your plays. So that's why the Golden Sword Soul is in here as well. If you're a Master Duel player, you've probably been running this card anyway, but now this is even better. And you're going to be using this tuner to make the level 8 Ecclesia the Black Dragon. You're going to banish it to continue extending, and this will also trigger the Golden Sword Soul. This doesn't target, so you can, for example, summon Quem through the effect of Black Dragon, and then chain properly so that Quem will send the monster you want to summon back with the Golden Sword Soul before it resolves its effect. So in this case, probably something like a Cartesia, right? So essentially what the goal is now for your Branded deck is to just essentially, a lot of the combos are not going to want to go to Branded Fusion now because of its summoning restriction, and that's going to make it very weird for your opponent when you sequence the right way, because they're trained by now to save the Ash Blossom for Branded Fusion. So the question is, how are you going to sequence your plays in a way where they're going to feel really pressured to stop your early plays, go into Branded, and then you can safely go to Branded Fusion, and that's game at that point. There is a problem with that though, because special summoning Fallen of the White Dragon with its effect in the hand will lock you out. Will lock you out of fusion summons and synchro summons, which is fine. However, once you go into the synchro summon Ecclesia the Black Dragon, you can't use Branded Fusion. I would argue that it doesn't matter, because this is a much stronger play. Ecclesia of the Black Dragon, please understand that this card is broken, okay? This card is extremely broken. Every turn, you can search into your deck and tutor whatever albaz monster you need for the situation, okay? This is Magic the Gathering levels of stupid in terms of being able to tutor. So I'm going to be special summoning whatever I want. I can get albaz, I can get Fallen again, I can get Quem, I can get Cartesia, I can Sword Soul, Mercurier, Kit, Tri-Brigade Spriggan's Kit. By the way, people, the videos that I just showed you, all of these videos, none of them incorporate Tri-Brigade Spriggan's Kit. I'm not saying that, by the way, just to like throw shade. I'm just saying that the deck is worse than people were showing already in the first 24 or 48 hours of getting this information. Because when this goes to the graveyard in any fashion whatsoever, a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it is coming back from the graveyard. That is a custom card. It is just straight up custom. You can basically do whatever you want in the context of Branded. The hand trap resilience is absurd now. You don't have to worry about Ash. I don't even think decks that can run Ash and Impulse have enough gas as an interruption to deal with this, to be honest with you. That's why I'm running multiple copies of these cards at 2, because I want to be able to have the option to summon all of these as different ways to continue extending the combos, right? So, for example, you know, if I Fallen of the White Dragon, let's say I special summon it and then they imperm it, right? Or they ash it, which is going to be the dumbest thing in the world for them, right? They imperm this. Now I can special summon Cartesia from my hand, right? And now I can continue to make plays. You know, honestly, I can normal summon Cartesia at this point, and then summon Fallen albaz. And now it also is protected from imperm in Valor. They have to use Ash Blossom, right? I can normal summon the Quem, send Fallen of the White Dragon to the graveyard if I want to, then use a card like Branded High Spirits to trigger it to special summon this. You know, normal summon Quem, special summon Fallen of the White Dragon to trigger its effect to get another card like Tri-Brigade Spriggan's Kit. The combinations are endless, and the deck has multiple ways of making sure the targeted negation is irrelevant. And it always had that, but it has more of that now with the Fallen the Virtuous. I will say though, this does feel it does feel like it necessitates more branded or albaz fusions in your extra deck, because we have a lot more cards that will be sending fusions from your extra deck to the graveyard. You will be mitigating that because you will be using over and over again the effect of the Dragon that Devours the Dogma and Ecclesia of the Black Dragon. So the deck strategy has shifted to, it's more about Mirror Jade, still about Mirror Jade, but it's really about looping these two over and over again, using their effects over and over again. It's shifted more to that, and by nature shifting more to a hybrid, not just a fusion strategy, is fusion/synchro. I would expect other synchro monsters to be in many players' extra decks. The primary culprits I'm going to assume are Dispatter, or perhaps Chaos Angel, but or even Lulawa Lilith. I think Dispatter's probably the best option right now, especially in this meta, because Bystials are a little bit stronger with having to deal with the Mitsurugi and Yummy decks, right? So also Bystial Magnemut is broken. It was broken before, it's even more broken now, because we're going to be searching for Fallen of the White Dragon if we play this on our opponent's turn. I don't need to say anything else. But typically your goal now when you're playing this deck is to essentially get to Granguignol as much as possible, as early as you can. Typically around the 4th or 5th summon, you're going to have access to Granguignol, and you're going to want to do that because of Nib resilience. Honestly, the deck doesn't care about Nib at all anymore. Once this point happens, Nib is a useless. Once these cards come out, Nib is a useless card against Branded. It was kind of useless before, but it kind of it really relied on Granguignol being out already. Now it doesn't really matter because almost all of your plays that really matter are going to be in the end phase anyway. You're going to be playing a lot more in the end phase as a natural plan A. Typically, the sign of a great Branded player was how they utilize the end phase, but that was more of like a determining factor on separating good Branded players from great Branded players. This also shifts it to where all Branded players are just playing during the end phase, and I think that's a really interesting shift for identity, right? You could feasibly make plays with this deck now where you're really only summoning 4 times during the main phase, and then you're summoning like 3-4 times during the end phase, setting up spells and traps, all that stuff. This also does change the way your opponent's going to be sequencing their hand traps, right? You're not going to be Ash Blossoming. You're not going to be Ash Blossoming until the end phase. If you're an opponent, you're not going to be using Dominus Impulse during the end until the end phase. That's where the meat of what Branded wants to do has now shifted towards. Branded Fusion is probably going to go to 3 because it's going to see a lower usage, because you really don't want, if you're going first, you really don't want to not summon Ecclesia of the Black Dragon. There is one caveat, and there is a way to make this still happen, and that will be through the effect of a card like Etude of the Branded. So I think Etude of the Branded is going to be a side deck card. in this new form of Branded, replacing the Branded loss in many circumstances, because it's twofold. You're gonna be able to quick synchro into Ecclesia on your opponent's turn, which is perfect, and you're gonna be also able to use its floodgate effect against your opponent's graveyard, who want, if they want to, for example, use their graveyard. Send monsters to the graveyard for like the ritual synchros, fusions, links. This will shut them down if they're really heavily relying on that strategy. Almost all the decks are that we have to worry about, right? So obviously against Malice, this might feel a little bad. But I'm also running, Dimensional Barrier, because why not? But that's neither here nor there. So the most important thing I want to emphasize here is that this really gives you maximum hand economy. You can minimize the amount of cards you have to discard and send to get the Branded Fusion end board now, right? So if you're an opponent using your hand traps, you almost want them to use Branded Fusion over the other way, because at least going through Branded Fusion, like through a Branded Opening and through a High Spirits, this requires several cards being sent to the graveyard. And if you can minimize the Branded Fusion, perhaps through something like a Fualos, or for example, you probably have a better shot, ironically, of beating the Branded deck than allowing them to go through the white albaz line, to be honest with you. Because what this unlocks for a lot of players, who, especially the ones who like playing a lot of hand traps, what this unlocks is a variation of Branded that can incorporate more hand traps, and it's already done that for me. I'm running 3 Fuals, but I'm also running 3 Meows, and I'm including the Bestials in this example, right? But I could make room for a few copies of Nibiru, for example, if I really wanted to, by taking out certain cards. I could drop Quem to 1 if I want to. I could drop the Incredible Ecclesia to 1 if I want to. Add 2 Nibs in there, right? I also very cautiously want to suggest the possibility of running this card as an honorary Branded card, without really incorporating the too much of the Draco Tail line. I think this hand trap is absolutely broken, and I almost considered running some type of very limited Draco Tail line just to get access to Fimina as a hand trap to fuse on my opponent's turn. To be straight up honest with you, I can see in the future builds incorporating just Fimina and maybe the Frixel as a Draco Tail line, and then just the rest of it is just Branded, just straight up playing Branded. Now and maybe just a Ketu Draco Tail, in the side or in the main, because now I can use that as my fusion to go into any type of spellcaster or dragon. Or you can even go like a slightly more extensive version of that. Honestly, Branded Draco Tail can do this, can play Fallen of the White Dragon over Fallen of Albaz anyway. So you're going to see decks that are essentially Draco Tail with 1 copy of Fallen of the White Dragon, or maybe even 2, or maybe just 1 Fallen of the White Dragon and a copy of Ecclesia, or something like maybe a slightly more extensive version of what we were seeing with the Branded deck. Again, like I'm kind of very excited about what this does. Also, by the way, Dimensional Barrier does nothing to us anymore. Dimensional Barrier does nothing, because you're gonna want to run want to run Ecclesia to Black Dragon, and the way the deck can build itself, it can just make a Branded Fusion line essentially, without having to fusion summon anymore, because you're gonna make Ecclesia. They're gonna call Barrier, call Fusion. However, I'm just gonna go the Fallen line and just create end phase effects to set the Branded in red, get the Quem on the board, get the Cartesian on the board. Ecclesia's tutoring me anything I need depending on the situation you present to me. So I don't see Dimensional Barrier really doing much against Branded once Burst Protocol comes out. Honestly, it's almost a waste. I don't feel like with Ido now I'm going out of my way to summon it. It was kind of like that before, but it required a little bit of of setting up a double Grand Guignol play. Anyway, I just feel like with Ido, by the way, with all these decks using lock combinations, I think with the artifact combos, I just feel like there's no excuse. Just put it in the sideboard, bare minimum, have it available. I do want to point out that this does, besides Branded Draco Tail, this will probably be incorporated into road decks that also like to fusion summon. I can see road decks like Runic also incorporating Fallen of the White Dragon, because it gets you a free tuner that you can use to go into many different things. The extra pushes allow you to get past Ash Blossom and Dominus Impulse decks as well. What it doesn't do, however, it during the end phase, the end board isn't that much different than what a typical Branded Fusion play would be. But that's probably an indication of how broken Branded Fusion is as a spell card, so I don't really think that's a disappointing thing. But it does give us more routes to get to that answer, right? And more ways to constantly recycle and recreate the same board over and over again. We're just gonna tire our opponents out, tire out their resources, which Branded was already one of the best decks at doing that. And now it's even better and more efficient. And I think that's really the thing we have to look at here. This is probably what we were missing. The ability to get to Branded Fusion end boards without requiring so much card economy. And being able to rebuild that same board as well, right? So, I mean, them giving us a card that lets us do that in the form of a Towers is absolutely insane. The fact that it's a beast secretly was also ridiculous, by the way, because now it's a Branded High Spirits line for your Molcharming Meows, which was typically, historically, one of the least used, but now because the way the meta is, it just kind of neatly goes into place where now Meows is ridiculous. So I really like that, because that was one of the first hand traps Molcharmings I was able to get. And just once again, none of these combos that you're seeing right now are talking about Spriggan's Kit, right? This was one of the answers to, by the way, our card economy, especially going second, where we had to discard lots of cards. I mean, Bestials kind of helped, Albion the Shrouded Dragon helped, discarding a Branded Retribution helped. But if you didn't see any of these cards for whatever reason, and you wanted to use Super Poly or Forbidden Droplet, it kind of hurt your hand economy, even though those cards were really good. A lot of these decks don't just lose to a simple Super Poly or Forbidden Droplet due to how layered the interactions are. So having another card that gives you something for discarding it is pretty awesome and can help you chain block effects as well. But yeah, this is what I will be playing once all the cards are available. This is exactly what I'll be doing. Like I said, I'm going to be trying 2 Ecclesia and 2 Quem here, because I just think there are going to be lines where you're going to want 2 Quem or even 2 Ecclesia to come out, and these are starters now, right? I might even try other cards, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, but like Chaos Nephthys, because we have more lights in the deck now that are part of the engine, and I don't care about banishing them because I'm putting them back into the deck with Dogma Dragon. So there's just options there. This is mostly for pure Branded. I haven't really thought too much about how the Draco Tail Branded deck's gonna do, but here's like a somewhat like a small example of what I probably would do. I probably would just drop one of the Fallen Albazes and put in White Albaz, for example. It's not gonna be as extensive, but it can be done. But to be honest with you, I'm not even really focusing on that. Like, by the time Burst Protocol comes out, I'm probably going back to straight Branded, to be completely honest with you. It just has too much going for it now at this point. I also want to say one last thing here. None of the decks I'm seeing here is running Secretarion Dragon. I think that should still be potentially an option. I mean, Draco Tail's still going to be a thing unless something drastic happens. So being able to go into Secretarion Dragon as an extender and then still be able to, potentially put your Draco Tail opponent into a awkward position where they have to deal with it first before your other stuff, that's still going to be really good, right? So I will consider that still, and I'm still going to be playing that just to have a generic fusion monster that can do stuff for me. Honestly, bringing back Fallen the White Dragon is dumb. Like for example, instead of using the effect of Fallen of the White Dragon to special summon itself and lock myself out of certain things, then I can just fuse into Secretarion Dragon and then special summon this from the graveyard, right? And I get the same combo without having that limitation. So just something to think about. I still like this card a lot. Double Mirror Jade is not necessary, but I think it's going to be more annoying for your opponent to know that a second Mirror Jade can come back out with this build, and I think the Branded deck's going to want more albaz fusions in the extra deck anyway, so I just figured a second Mirror Jade is probably the right thing. In terms of super poly targets, I really only think you need Dogma Dragon and probably Garura now. To be honest with you, I think that's all you really need. You're gonna fuse once super poly into this, and then even if they have more plays after that, they're probably not gonna be able to beat this. I'm just super excited for this deck, by the way. I'm just super crazy excited. Let's have fun, guys. Branded is going to be the best deck. Your time is running out, guys. All the haters of Branded, your time is running out. I'm being a little facetious here, but yeah. So that was my 30-minute yap about Branded. Absolutely insane. Did not expect that to happen. Once again, please check out the combos here for Metagames GX. Check out Galzo. Check out Raw TCG. As always, when you're looking at combos, try to keep those thoughts in mind if you possibly can. Let's go, guys. Let's take this to the next stage. Branded best deck. I've been studying all these combos. I've been looking at them and just trying to take notes more than anything like that. I don't really focus on combo videos here because there's so many content creators that do so well creating these combos. I just like explaining things and breaking it down to easier bites for the younger players, for the newer players, because there will be a lot of newer players in the next 24 hours, and in the coming months for this archetype. So very excited. All right. Take care of yourself. Thank you for watching the video for my yap session about Branded. I'm just super excited. I'm still gushing right now. Take care of yourself and have a great day.